Okay, so we're going to be working toward our half lotus or lotus pose today, whatever you decide to try. If none of those work, there's always options for you as well. I'm going to read a little bit. Oh, Prabhu said our video is not working. Okay, but you can see me, so that's good. I'll talk to you a little bit about the anatomy of things that we need to prepare to get into this pose. And just having said that, please remember, we never force ourselves into a yoga posture. Everyone has different body proportions. And I know just for me, with kind of a shorter body position, I have shorter leg bones, like lotus pose is not the easiest pose for me because of the shape of my body. And I used to force myself into it, believe me, back when I was first doing yoga. But I know now that I wasn't doing it correctly and I could have potentially really hurt my knees. So I just want to caution you to just do what feels right for your body and never force yourself into any yoga pose, but particularly the lotus, because we want to protect our knees. So if it feels right, you're going to go for it. If it feels tweaky, doesn't feel good, then you're going to just back off. Okay, deal? Deal. Okay. So we're going to be coming onto our backs in a moment. You're going to need your 2 balls. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. Okay. All right, so we're going to come into bound angle, and you might want like a pillow or a blanket in front of your head. And we're going to take our 2 loose tennis balls and put them right under the glutes. So when you come down, you're going to kind of lift yourself up and stick those balls in the fleshy part. And then we'll drop the knees open, and we're going to start right here. Okay. If that's not comfortable, you can also use your blocks underneath your knees as an option. And I'm going to stay seated and just do a little bit of reading to you as you come into your breath. So the theme of our practice today is settling into stillness. So when we think about the lotus pose, traditionally it's a meditation posture. And so it helps us to really sit up taller, find our good posture. But there's a lot going on that we need to prepare the body for, because we don't, in our daily living, sit in a lotus posture or even sit on the floor cross-legged unless we're doing yoga regularly, or maybe we're a teacher, we're down on the floor, but most of us sit in chairs. And so we don't regularly externally rotate our leg bones. So that's one component. Another component is the inner thigh. So sometimes that band of the inner thigh is very tight, or the outer hip is very tight, the IT band. We also need a little abduction. So that's a little bit of taking the leg out to the side. So we'll strengthen those muscles. And then flexion. So we're bending at the hip, the knee, and we've got a little ankle flexibility that we work on. Sometimes, I know for me, when I used to force myself into this pose, my ankles were very, what we call sickled. So we'll look at that. And finally, some back strength is required to sit up in a lotus posture. So taking some time now just to find this idea of settling into stillness. We start to imagine the breath like pebbles in water, sediment. So as you take a few more cycles of breath, just kind of imagining this settling to the bottom, to the ground, toward earth. And if the mind gets overactive, we start getting caught up in thought, we can just come back to that visual of letting ourselves settle, getting out of our heads. So a couple more moments there. Let's take about one more moment. I'm just going to share one more little reading here about the anatomy of this pose. So the lotus pose is Padmasana. Padma means lotus, and there's a lot of spiritual symbolism there, which I'll also get into later, requires unusual flexibility of the joints in the hips, knees, ankles, strength in the lower back, pelvis, thighs, particularly our inner thighs. So a lot of us lose that natural flexibility and agility that allows us to sit in cross-like positions. As a result, blood flow to the joints is restricted, cartilage is starved of nutrients, and the overall health and vitality of our lower extremities can decline. This decline is marked by stiffness and weakness in our knees, hips, and lower back, a common situation for most people with modern day comforts and conveniences. So the practice of Padmasana can help us prevent this decline in flexibility and range of motion. All right, so we're gonna start a little movement in just a moment here. Feel free to position the balls or reposition the balls anytime. The first thing we're gonna do is start to press our feet together. So just press your feet together and you're gonna notice those glute muscles kind of fire up, as well as some of those external rotators in the hips. And then relax. Let's do that 2 more rounds. Press the feet together. You kind of feel those balls massage in when you engage those glutes. 1 more time. Okay, now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to try and drag our feet apart. So press down into the pinky edges, and now try to drag your feet apart. Notice how that feels a little different. Maybe now we get a little more into those inner thighs, maybe a little bit more into the outer hips. Do that 2 more rounds. Press down a bit and pull apart. And then we're going to do 1 more cycle. All right, now from there, we're going to go ahead and put the feet flat. Knees are up. And we're going to maybe reposition the balls, maybe one other little section, wherever it feels right for you, no right or wrong. Walk your feet apart as wide as your mat. Right leg, we're going to drop it internally. So drop the right knee in toward the left foot and then bring it back out. Now you're going to drop it open. And then as you drop it open, maybe try to pick the foot off the ground and then foot down and drop into the center. Okay, so that's the movement. We're going to open the knee, try to lift the foot up. Bring the foot down, drop the knee in. So we're getting into a lot of different areas here, outer leg, inner leg, outer hip. So do that maybe 2 more cycles. And even try to draw your knee up towards your shoulder a little bit. That's that kind of abduction action. Because when we do a lotus, we need to bring our foot a little bit up toward our hip. Last one. And what we're doing is just some myofascial release on all these tissues that are often tight. So now other leg, we're going to go ahead and drop the left knee in toward the center. And then drop it out toward the side and try to pick the foot up and bring the knee in a little bit toward the chest. And then continue a few more cycles. I was honestly pretty amazed when I came up with this routine. I tried my lotus pose before and after, and I don't want you to do that because, excuse me, I don't want anyone to hurt themselves when they're not warmed up. But I will say that there was a really dramatic change in how easily I could get into the pose after I did all this myofascial work. Last one. All right, go ahead, walk those feet back in. We're gonna take the balls out for now, set them to the side. And now we're gonna grab a block. And we're gonna put the block between your feet. So you might need to sit up a moment, put the block between your feet, and then pull the block in as close as it feels comfortable. We're gonna take the, if you have a pillow, take that out, put your hands behind the back of your head. And we'll do a little bit of core work here. So we're gonna take an inhale, excuse me, and as you exhale, press your feet into the block, try to lift the block, and now lift your head, chest, and shoulders. And then release and come down, inhale, arch your back, press your legs a little bit open, squeeze those outer hip muscles, and then lift up and curl in. Okay, keep that going now. As you come down, inhale, arch, engage your glutes, and then exhale, lift up. So we're trying to strengthen those lower abdominal muscles here, as well as outer hips. As you come up, press into your lower back region, and that might help you lift a little higher, help you engage those lower abdominals. Let's do 2 more cycles. Good, and release. Okay, now from here, we're gonna take either a blanket or a pillow on top of your block and put your block the wide setting. So wide and flat, and put something on top of it so it's nice and soft. And then we're gonna grab a second block and we're gonna do supported bridge in bound angle, and it's gonna really open up those hips, okay? So, when we come down, we're gonna put that block right under the back of the sacrum, and then we're gonna put our feet in bound angle on top of that other setup that we just created. And then we'll let the knees fall open. If for any reason you don't like this, feel free to change it up. If you wanna come off of the blocks, you can just come back to bound angle. Maybe you wanna put the balls back in, okay? Because with the elevation here, it can be a little bit tricky on the knees. So do what feels right for you. Okay, I like it for myself, really helps open up this inner thigh area. Okay, so I'm gonna come up, you guys stay there. And after this, we're gonna come on up. But we're gonna take about a minute or so, let yourself hang out in this position. Okay, come back to that breath. Come back to that feeling of settling into stillness, watching those pebbles. So now I'll share a little bit about the symbolism. So we see lotus flowers used commercially, right? Jewelry, t-shirts, bags, things like that. But there's a rich spiritual symbolism regarding the lotus. So if we draw a square on a piece of paper and then draw another square over the first and rotate it 45 degrees, we get an 8-pointed star. This represents the 8-petaled lotus, said to represent the womb of all existence. It also represents our mind waiting to bloom through the practice of yoga. The realization of potential through the practice of yoga is symbolically visualized as the sequential blooming of lotus flowers along the spinal cord. Each flower having more petals than the one before it, with the final one in the head having 1,000 petals. So we're gonna do this meditation at the end, visualizing these lotus flowers throughout the spine, through the chakras. The lotus blooms in the muck, but remains unblemished, representing purity. and rising above the dirt that is the material world. The water rolling off its petals suggests detachment. The gradual unfurling of its petals to reveal its nectar that attracts bees represents fertility. Thus, the lotus embodies paradoxical ideas, detachment, as well as the pleasures in life. It is also said that when Buddha was born from his mother's womb, when he was able to walk, every time he put his foot down, a lotus flower bloomed. So a lot of different symbolism to the lotus flower. Okay, let's go ahead and come off of all of that. So take your time. You can lift your hips, move those blocks out of the way. And then just go ahead and windshield wiper your legs a couple times after you come off the props, before you come up. And then take the legs out straight in front of you. Widen the legs a little bit and then circle your feet around, do a little ankle rotation work. So warming up the ankle joints. Go a few times in each direction. All right. And then when you're ready, go ahead and maybe give those knees a hug, a little bit of circling on the lower back. And we're gonna go ahead and come on up into a seated posture from here. Have your balls nearby and have a strap nearby as you come up. And you can keep your blocks off toward the top of your mat. Okay, let's have a big loop in our strap. It's gonna be about your leg bone size, your upper leg bone size, maybe a little smaller. So you can get that ready. And by the way, the yoga mythology book, this is a really good book. It's called Yoga Mythology, 64 Asanas and Their Stories. So anyone who's interested in that sort of thing, really nice little book. Okay, so we're gonna come into crossed legs, sit up nice and tall, and kind of just noticing initially what it feels like to be in a seated posture. It's not lotus posture, but it's a seated posture. Where are you feeling any kind of challenge in your body, knees, hips, lower back, those kinds of places. And then we're gonna just take a couple rounds. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. And as you exhale, draw down through the center, just kind of visualizing this settling of the pebbles of the mind. Inhale, reach up. Exhale through center. Maybe you'll close your eyes. Let's do 3 more cycles. Nice slow exhale. Nice grounding breath. So when we settle into stillness, it's a sense of grounding, but also a sense of lifting up and out. 1 more cycle. Good, and release. Okay, grab your 2 balls and stick them back in somewhere around outer hip glute area, the outer glute, but wherever they feel like they're gonna stay for you. And then we're just gonna kind of circle around a little bit. So circle, and you'll feel like that pressure into the balls. Actually, I have a pillow under me that's too slippery, so I'm gonna take that out. Okay, so circle a few more times. And then reverse, go the other way. So they're probably already a little loosened up after the work we did on our backs. Okay, and now let's go into bound angle. Keep those balls in place. And sit up nice and tall. And again, just maybe a little circling around now, the legs in a different position. Sometimes that tightness on the outer hip starts into the glute area. So let's go the other way one more time. Okay. And then let's come back into Sukhasana. Go ahead, take the balls out, grab your strap. We're going to put the strap around your left knee and have the tail kind of coming back behind you. Okay, we're going to take a twist and we're going to be kind of using a little bit of a bind. So we're going to inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, twist to your left. Lift up nice and tall, so sit bones are grounded, chest is lifting. Now see if you can take your left hand around your back and grab the straps. You might need to use your other hand to get that strap in your hand. If you have super long arms, you might be able to just kind of tuck it in or something like that, but I always need the strap. I had a request from my honey to add a little shoulder work today, so I'm adding a little shoulder work into this mix. But the traditional lotus pose, let's hold here for a few breaths. We reach behind our back and we grab our big toes. I can't do it. Maybe some of you can. My arms are too short. But with a strap, we might be able to approximate some of that at the end of our practice. Pull a little bit with your back hand. Pull a little bit with your front hand and lift your chest. Hold that for one more breath. And then we're going to slowly let go of the strap first and make your way back to the center. Switch your legs and put your strap on the other leg. Let that tail come back behind you. Now I want the loop to be big enough, I should have said this on the other side, that when you come around, you're actually holding inside the loop and you're not holding the tail itself. It gets a little, you get a little more leverage that way. Okay, let's inhale, reach up. When you're ready, exhale, twist over to the other side. And then your right hand's gonna come around, see if it can grab that strap. And then pull with both hands. Don't be aggressive, just a little bit of pulling will help you open up that back shoulder. Every inhale, let's sit up taller. You might even push your right knee and your hand into each other. Last breath. Good, and slowly release. All right, set the straps to the side. We'll come back to that later. Now, if you don't have a separate ball in the sock, go ahead and put your balls in the sock. Okay, and then we're going to come, just leave those to the side for a moment. Bring your hands behind you. We're going to just windshield wiper the legs a little bit here. So give everyone a minute to catch up with their balls. And as we're doing windshield wipers, you're kind of just getting this nice fluidity into the hips joints here. And now we're going to let the knees fall to the right, scoot your feet back, and we're in this kind of position called the deer pose or the Z-sit. And we're going to take the two balls underneath the right IT band. So you want the balls long on the IT band, so you get as much of that tissue as you can, okay? And then from here, we're going to rock in and out. So rock in and out. Giving a nice massage into that IT band. Okay, and now just rock forward and see if you could walk yourself out and fold over that leg any amount. You might sway a little bit, rock a little bit side to side, or you could stay still. Okay, so let's stay with that for a couple moments. Okay, go ahead and come up and let's do the other side. So switch your legs over to the left, put the balls in. And then first you're just gonna kind of rock onto the balls. There's a lot of kind of controversy of massaging this area, myofascial release. So the IT band is a very important structural band of tissue. And it is important that it's strong because it helps stabilize the knee and the pelvis. Go ahead and fold when you're ready, but it can also get really tight. And I think you'll see as we do this work today that having it a little bit massaged out can be really beneficial for getting into some of these postures. And then either staying still or rock from side to side. Okay, go ahead and come up, set the balls to the side. We're coming into tabletop position. And you can leave the blanket down for just this last part, then we'll take it off before we come up to dog. Okay, so go ahead, do a few rounds of cat-cow. And today's focus for our cat-cow is really focusing on the femur bones gliding in the hip sockets. You know, we've done different focuses for this little movement that we do pretty much every practice, but notice the movement of your pelvis and the gliding of the leg bones. Two more. Now after this next one, go ahead, start to circle the hips around and you'll feel those leg bones glide a little bit more. And reverse your circle, go the other way. When I go the other way, I always get the crack. So you might notice for you one way or the other, if you get a little crack in that hip. Okay, back to the center. If you need a break off your hands, feel free to take a quick child's pose. We will get there in a moment. Take your right leg back behind you. Make sure there's nothing in your way. Right leg back. We're going to lift it up and we're going to cross it over to the other side. And then we're going to bring it up and do a little bit of kind of a crunch. Bring that knee in toward the tricep. Okay, so take it back behind you, a little bit of a stretch, and then important to lift it up and then forward. So we strengthen those abduction muscles. So let's do two more like that. Lift up and then bring it forward. Hopefully you feel that outer hip turning on a bit. Last one. All right. Go ahead, take a brief child's pose before side two. We've been on the wrists for a bit there. For today, lady, you want to take your knees nice and wide apart. And then let's come up and do the other side. So we're going to take that leg up and cross it behind us. Then the knee, lift it up and bring knee towards your elbow and keep going. And even this swinging action, getting some fluidity in the hip joint. Two more rounds. Try not to rush it. That's easy to do. All right, and then release. And we're going to come onto the belly. So again, we can leave that blanket there for now. Come up into Sphinx posture. Lining up forearms with your shoulders. Press into your arms, lift your chest, try to get your upper back muscles to engage. So we need that back strength. And then we're going to tuck our toes under and lift the kneecaps off the floor. And we're going to alternate some work in the ankles. So now feet flat, press into your toenails and the tops of your feet. Still the kneecaps are lifting. And then tuck, lift the kneecaps up. Okay, 2 more. Press. And see if you can get all the toenails to press. And then tuck and lift the knees. 1 more time. Press, top of foot, toenails, and tuck, lift the kneecaps. Okay, tops of the feet flat, toenails pressing, kneecaps lifting. Lower down, cobra pose. Slide your hands back, roll your shoulders back, press into your toenails, inhale, lift up. 2 more rounds, keep those legs nice and active. Inhale, lift up. 1 more time. All right, from here, let's go ahead and press to table. We'll take the blanket off if you still have one, and make your way to your first downward facing dog. Okay, once you get to your dog, go ahead, pedal it out, move around, shake out your head. Find a little maybe movement with your hips. All right, inhale, plank pose, lower down. Tops of the feet press, press near your toenails, feet active. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Okay, let's do that one more time. Inhale, lower down. Tops of the feet press, toenails press, cobra pose. Nice active legs, down dog. Okay, now option to repeat that, or we're going to try to go into up dog. So we're going to shift forward, shoulders over the wrists. See if you can roll over your toes. Keep those toes pressing, kneecaps lifting, up dog. And then roll over your toes, come back. Okay, so 2 more rounds. Your choice. Either stick with the cobra or roll over your toes, the kneecaps are lifting, press through your arms, arm bones back, up dog. Keep the heart going forward as you come into that up dog. Shoulders back. Last one. Very nice. Meeting in dog. And then go ahead, walk your feet to meet your hands, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, let's reach those arms all the way out and up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Okay, hold your mountain pose there. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Step your right foot to the back of the mat. Drop that knee down and come onto the top of your foot if you're comfortable doing so. Rise up into a lunge. Okay, if it's comfortable, the back toes are going to be flat for today. We're going to press into those toenails. Press into the top of the foot. Hook the tailbone forward and inhale, the arms reach. We're going to bring the hands down to the heart center. Keep hooking that tailbone, keep pressing the toenails. And then we're gonna take lotus mudra today. So lotus mudra, pinky and thumb stay together. You open up the middle fingers, make like a lotus flower. And then we're gonna send that up and overhead. Keep that activity in the toes. Keep that tailbone hooking forward. Maybe you'll deepen into your front knee and look up towards your lotus flower. That symbol of rising out of adversity. Unblemished. Good. Release. Hands come inside the front foot. Walk the front foot over to the left and walk the back knee over to the right. So we start to open up the inseams of the legs here. You can stay up on your palms. You can come to blocks or come to forearms if you wish. We're holding lizard pose. Now from here, we're gonna let that front knee drop open. If it feels okay, come on the pinky edge of that front foot. For some of us, that's too much on the knee, so listen to your body. It could be helpful to press into the pinky edge of the foot a bit. Drag the foot externally a little bit toward the left, and you'll feel that action in the inner thigh. Option to lift the back knee off the ground, push back into that back heel, and reach forward through the front knee. Hold that one more breath. And then slowly release, walk that foot back to center, step back to plank pose, take the vinyasa or downward facing dog. Your choice. Okay, meet in down dog. And then we're gonna inhale, right leg straight up behind you, bend your knee, open your hip up for a moment, maybe circle it around. And then inhale back to center, exhale, step through, and we're doing that same thing. So we're gonna put the back toes flat, press into the toenails, so working on ankle flexibility, hook the tailbone, and then bring hands to heart this time. We'll go right to that lotus flower. Okay, go ahead, open the lotus flower, reach it up. Maybe bend a little deeper into your front knee, maybe look up at your hands, really press through that front foot, reach that flower as high as you can. And then we'll release, bring the hands inside the front foot, walk the right foot to the right, left knee to the left, and we come into our lizard pose. Again, you can stay here on your hands, you can keep right foot flat, or drop open onto the pinky edge of that front foot. We get a little more opening through that inseam of the leg. And as we press into the pinky toe side, we might drag it a little bit to the right if it doesn't bother the knee, which helps open up that leg even more. Option to tuck the back toes, lift that knee off the ground. Hold it there, another breath. Inner legs moving away from each other. And then slowly release the knee down, walk the foot back in. We're gonna step forward, top of the mat, and fold over your legs. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Okay, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, step the left foot back, drop the back knee down, toes flat, a little faster this time. Bring your hands up to your heart. Hook the tailbone, press the toes, inhale, reach it up. Let your lotus flower bloom. And then release, hands inside that front foot, walk it a little wider. Drop open if you like, lift the back knee if you like. This time, adding on a bit, bring your right hand onto right thigh, a little bit of a twist. and push your thigh and hand into each other as you spiral open a little bit. The back knee is lifted, really keep the thigh lifting. One more breath. Good, and then release, step it back, plank pose, take the vinyasa or right to dog. Okay, side two, inhale, left leg up. Step it through, back knee down, coming into the lunge. Press into the toenails, inhale, reach the arms up. Maybe deepen into that lunge. And then release, hands inside the front foot, widen the legs a little bit. And come into your twist. So you might drop that knee open or not. Hand and thigh press into each other. Maybe that back knee is off the ground. Now we're really gonna push into the hand that's on the ground, protecting your shoulder. All right, let's release, walk it back to the center, and then step forward, fold at the top. Inhale, reach the arms up. Oh, I forgot the hip opener on that side, hands to heart. We'll catch it this time. Okay, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale, halfway lift, take the vinyasa or go to your dog. Inhale your right leg up. We're going to step through to warrior two. Okay, so we're going to really press that front knee more toward the pinky toe to open the hip, open inner thigh. Tailbone down, lift up through the crown of the head. And now from here, we're going to try and lift the front heel off the ground. So you're on the ball of your foot. Press down into the ball of the foot. Keep the back arch lifting. So you can keep that heel up as you come into reverse warrior with the wrap. So we're going to take the back hand, wrap it around your back, front palm up, reverse warrior. Keep that front knee pressing toward the pinky toe. Don't lose that. Hold it there, one more breath. Back to warrior two, heel stays up if you can. Good, straighten that leg, triangle pose. Let the hips shift toward the back foot, top arm reaches straight up. Good, back to warrior two, lift the heel, back to reverse. Good, heel down, warrior two, cartwheel your hands down. Down dog or vinyasa. All right. When you're ready, inhale, left leg up. Let's catch that bending the knee, open the hips, circle it around. We already did it on the other side, but we're gonna catch the left side. Go both directions and then step through to your warrior two. Good. So pressing that front knee open, tailbone down, rib cage, chest lifting, and then lift that heel. So you work on that ankle flexibility, and then reverse warrior with the wrap. Use your front hand to kind of pull the hip down away from your rib cage. Good, rising back up, warrior two, keep the heel lifted. And then heel down, straighten the leg, triangle pose. Let the hips shift toward that back foot. Rise back up, warrior two, lift the heel, and one more time into reverse. Good, back to your warrior two, heel down, and this time straighten your legs, parallel your feet. Turn both sets of toes out wide. Pause here, root down into your feet, into your legs, find a neutral pelvis. Try to really get the tailbone to pull down because we're gonna bend the knees. And a lot of times we tend to stick our booties out. So keep the tailbone drawing down, start to bend your knees. And try not to do the sticking the booty out. That's it. Hold there, get as low as you feel comfortable. Press into your heels. And then hands inside legs, press legs and hands into each other. Keep your chest lifted and do a little pulsation up and down. Okay, hold it in the down position. See if you can lift your heels off the ground, letting your seat drop a little lower. Keep the shoulders back, try not to stick your booty out. Good, heels down, straighten your legs. Parallel your feet. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, little bend in the knees as you fold forward, hands down in front of you. You turn your right toes out, lunge to the right, option to come all the way down into a squat, Skandasana. So we stretch the inseam of that left leg. Hold it there, another breath. And then go ahead, shift it over to the other side, either just a lunge or drop all the way down into the squat. Ankle flexibility, stretching that inseam, hip opening, lots of good stuff going on here. Good, and then back to the center, parallel your feet and fold forward. You can either stay with hands under your shoulders, walk them back, or maybe you want to hold your big toes or your ankles. Maybe those knees bend a little bit, but get the sit bones to tip upward as the chest and head go downward. One more breath. All right, go ahead, walk your hands back out under your shoulders, heel toe in, and then hands to hips, come all the way up to stand, and you can come to the top of your mat. We'll do a little bit more standing work, then we're gonna transition to working toward our lotus pose. So stand in your mountain pose, palms face forward, stand on your right leg, bring your left knee up. Then we're going to take it out to the side, abduction, external rotation. Bring your other hand inside the leg and press your leg and hand into each other. The opposite leg should be really firming, rooting into the ground. Maybe the arm comes out as a counterbalance. Can you lift that knee a little higher? You might use your hand. Try to lift it higher, but the hand's more just for balance. That's it. Now we'll place that foot into tree, either above or below your knee, your choice. Bring hands to heart. Firm those outer hip muscles, tailbone draws down, and let's take our lotus flower and reach it up and overhead. If you're super steady, you might try to take your gaze up towards your lotus flower. And then we're gonna lower hands to heart. Keep the right leg straight, try to come into figure four. Okay, and then we're gonna externally rotate that leg. Good, you can stay there or bend the right knee, come into chair pose. You can always put blocks under your hands here as an option. This time we are going to stick our booties out. Send full permission. Stick those booties out behind you. Press ankle and leg into each other. We're almost there. Focus. Good. Slowly release. Come up and shake it out. Nice work. Okay, let's try that on the other side. We're going to stand on the left leg. Make it nice and solid, strong, rooted into the ground, and we'll bring the right knee up. Externally rotate, abduct, take it out to the side, and then press your hand and leg into each other. Maybe that other arm is your counterbalance. The standing hip is nice and firm. Let's see if we can bring that knee up a little higher. Do your best to do it without pulling, but then your hand might help. And then we'll place it for tree. The lower above that knee, hands to heart. Firm the outer hips, tailbone down, and then open the lotus flower, send it up and overhead. Good, holding it there. Maybe the gaze shifts up. And then hands to heart. And we come into the figure four, keeping the legs straight at first. Much easier on my first side. And then option to come down into your figure four chair pose. And this time we send those booties back behind us. Really root into that standing foot, press shin and leg into each other. One more breath. And then release, coming up to stand. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold over your legs. And let's take a couple moments in Uttanasana. So you can either grab your elbows, your big toes, hands under feet, your choice. Have a nice little hang for a few breaths. If you have opposite elbows, go ahead and switch the crossing. Take a couple more moments. And just making sure that you're protecting your lower back here. You might want to have that little bend in your knees. Good, and then when you're ready, slowly starting to come back up. And reach the arms up and overhead. And hands to your heart. Okay. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, halfway, we're stepping right to dog. Bring those knees down. Let's take a child's pose. Just a brief one. And then we're going to tuck our toes under if they're not, and start to walk your hands back. And you're going to be in a squat with your toes tucked, and take the knees nice and wide. So I'm going to face you guys. Toes tucked, knees wide, and if you can, you're going to sit right onto your heels. And then kind of press down into your thighs, lift your chest, open your collarbones, open your shoulders. Very good. One more breath there. I'll just modify if this is too much. All right. And let's go ahead and come down. We're going to come into a seated posture. If you need something to sit on, grab it. And you're going to grab your balls in the sock. Okay. We're going to tuck the right foot in for Ardha Matsyendrasana. Seated twist, and then your left foot is either going to be right in front or you're going to cross it over. But before you do that, we're going to take the balls under the right leg. okay? So you might need, at this point, you might need to be sitting up on a prop because it's gonna elevate you a bit with that balls there, okay? And then cross the leg either in front or over. You might feel a little asymmetrical for a moment. Okay, we're gonna first rock toward that right leg. So same kind of release for the IT band that we did earlier. And then coming back to the center, hold on with your right hand, inhale, lift up tall, exhale, twist to your left. And you might pull a bit with that right hand, press your leg and hand into each other, turn, keep lifting your chest. If the balls are too much, you could take them out. And let's hold there another moment. Good, inhale back to the center. And then go ahead, uncross, and we'll switch sides. So balls are gonna go now under the left leg, tuck the left toes in, and then right foot is either right in front or cross it over. And first we're gonna rock in and out a bit. Again, loosening up those outer hips and IT bands. Okay, and then let's prepare for the twist. Come back to center, hug your shins, sit up tall. And then left hand holds on, right hand behind you. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, and turn. And then top leg, so right leg and hand might press into each other. Keep the collarbones broad, crown of the head lifting. And release back to the center. And go ahead, set the balls to the side. Okay, and now we're gonna grab one block. Put that in front of you on the tall setting, but flat. So it's long. So we're gonna put our foot on it. And then you're gonna come into bound angle with that block right in front of you. Sit up tall. Now, if you're sensitive, you might want a blanket on top of your block, especially if you have cork blocks like me. If you have a soft block, it's probably okay. We're gonna put the right foot on top of the block, and the left foot lines up with the right foot, which lines up with your pelvic floor. And then we're gonna take some kind of circling, swaying, just move around a little bit. Eventually come a little bit more in toward the forward fold. You might bring your hands in front of you and just kind of sway it out. Eventually you might fold toward that foot like you're gonna put your head right on your foot. Maybe you can put your head on your foot. If you're rounding your back a lot to do that, don't do it. Keep the sit bones tipping back behind you so keep that lower back nice and long. And then we'll take a few breaths wherever you landed. So either you're up a little bit higher, maybe you're into the forward fold, maybe your head's on your foot. We're all different. And let's take about 3 breaths. If the block's too much too, you can put your foot on the floor. So know that you have options. Okay, let's slowly start to come up, and we're gonna lift the foot up and grab the foot with the hands. Maybe you could interlace your hands around your foot, and you're gonna push your foot and hands into each other. Try to sit up as tall as you can, and then bring that foot back and up as if you're gonna talk on the phone with your foot. Get as close to your ear as you can, but kind of keep pressing your foot and hand into each other. The foot is flexed. And try to sit up tall. Good, from here, half lotus. Bring that foot up into the hip crease, and we're gonna try not to sickle the ankle joint, which means we're kind of externally, I'm sorry, how would I say that? Rounding the ankle joint on the right side, on the outer side. So keep a little bit of flex to that foot and sit up tall. Good, now option to take a twist here or stay here for a few moments. You would twist to your right, bring your left hand around your back. Some of you will be able to catch your foot. If you can't catch your foot, you can catch your clothing or you can use your strap. And I forgot to tell you to have your strap nearby. So if you want to get your strap, you can. So I've got the strap now around my right foot, my right arm's around the back, left hand on right knee, and then I might push my hand and leg into each other, pull on the strap, lift the chest. One more breath. Good, inhale it back to the center, take the strap off, lean back, bring your feet in front of you, and windshield wiper side to side. Okay, bound angle again. This time put your block between your feet. And that block can be on any level that feels right. You can put it more narrow, you can go a little wider. Try to press your feet into the block as you pull the sacrum in, lift your chest, open the collarbones. You might even tip forward a little bit, but not if you're rounding your back. So that's a big opening. Hold there, one more breath. And slowly coming up. Okay, slide the block out in front of you. Now left foot on top of the block. And we'll do a little bit of movement. Just kind of sway it around a little bit, circle, sway. Make sure both feet are lined up with your pelvic floor. And eventually, maybe those hands come in front of you. Notice if one side's a lot tighter than the other. Eventually, maybe that head comes down. If you're rounding your back, better to stay up a little higher. Like to press into the block a bit with the foot to protect the knee. All right, slowly coming up, and then we're going to grab that foot and lift it up nice and high. Knee is bent. Then we're going to push the foot and hand into each other. See if we can bring that foot a little closer up toward the ear. Sit up as tall as you can. And then half lotus if you can. If you can't do a half lotus, come into a cross-leg position. Use that strap if you want around the foot. So try to keep that foot a little bit on the flex side. But here's where, our body proportions play a role. Like if our shin bone is very short, it's going to be hard to safely get the foot up. So I know, like one of my first teachers, some of you guys know Jessie, she's got the long limbs and she could get into these positions a lot easier and even do the bind part. But for some of us, it's not really accessible. So if you want to take the twist, you can twist over to your left. Left hand goes behind you, grabs the strap. And then we inhale, sit up tall, exhale, pull a bit with the hands. And then we're opening into that shoulder on the left side. Hold there, one more breath. And slowly release, coming back to the center. And then let's go ahead, stretch those legs out, circle the feet around both directions. We're gonna sit in that at the end again in our meditation. We might get done a few minutes late today, guys, sorry about that. So from here, let's go ahead and come on our backs. And I'm going to give you guys a choice. You might want to take like a supported bridge with your block again under your sacrum. You could also do an active bridge if you want to do something more active. So I'm not going to talk you through it. I'm just going to give you guys options. You might also take your supported bridge with your legs up and do like more of the inversion, and then you could circle those legs around. That might be nice on the knees and the ankles to do the legs up. So whatever floats your boat. You want to do a strong bridge or a wheel, or just a simple supported bridge, or legs up, your choice. And we're going to just stay there for another moment or two. Okay, let's go ahead and come down if the legs are up. You can lift your hips. If you have the block, take it out. You might want a pillow for your head. So whatever finishing poses you want to do here before Shavasana. So you might want to do some knee hugs, some circles, maybe a little hamstring stretch, happy baby. So again, I'm going to let you use a little more intuition to see what does your body need. Maybe you want to do a quick twist to each side. So I'm going to give you guys about 1 minute to finish up. You're welcome to come to Shavasana whenever you're ready. You still have a little bit of time left in your minute if you're still doing things. So grabbing any props that you need to be comfortable in your Shavasana. Just wait till everyone looks settled. So everyone taking your time now, finding Shavasana. Coming back to that feeling of settling into stillness. And I'll share a final reading with you guys as you settle into your Shavasana. And this is from the book called The Wakeful Body. She writes, one of my teachers used to talk about the mind as being like a muddy river. It is moving sometimes slowly, sometimes rapidly. And it is not very clear. When we meditate, it is as if we have plunged a clear vase into the river to draw up water and then placed it on the shore. The vase is our practice of meditation, a clear and stable container. Eventually, because the vase is unmoving, the sediment in the water begins to settle. At first, it becomes semi-transparent. And by the next day, the water is crystal clear, with the sediment having settled to the bottom. When I first heard this teaching from Kalu Rinpoche, I thought of this verse by Taoist poet Lao Tzu. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? So in some ways, meditation is a waiting game. The container of meditation keeps the mind and body still. And when we tether the mind to a non-conceptual anchor, the energy of agitation and restlessness begins to gradually settle. Eventually, the mind becomes clear and calm, like the water left in the pitcher. So continue now to have this sense of drifting downward, letting the mind and body settle, as if all the contents of the body and the mind were drifting downward into the ground. So in the yoga tradition, the first chakra, the pelvic floor, where we sit in our meditation, and the second chakra of below the navel are associated with earth and water. And earth and water together can make mud, can make things very sticky and heavy, make us feel kind of stuck. And many of us can get very stuck in these lower chakras. Maybe we don't feel safe. Maybe we have an excess charge there where we're sort of obsessed with earthly pleasures, kinds of things, and addictions. But as we open up these sequential lotus blooms, we start to allow that energy to rise up. And we open to something bigger than ourselves. And we'll do that in our meditation very shortly. Let me give you guys another minute or two just to settle here. All right, so we're going to take our time now, start to return. You can take a couple deeper breaths, start to move a little bit. Just take your time. Eventually, you're going to come over to your side. Let there be no hurry. Having that pause on your side. And then we'll go ahead and come up to a seated position when you are ready to. And you have choices. You can sit in a regular cross-leg position. You could take your half lotus again on your favorite side. Those of you who feel like you could try a full lotus are welcome to do so, very, very mindfully, not forcing anything. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Full lotus, you'd put the one foot up first, then bring the second shin up. I'm not going to do that. And if anyone wants to reach behind and grab the big toes, they could sit like that as well. Again, I'm just going to let hands rest. Make sure those sit bones feel like they're nice and wide, so you feel your base on the ground, the earth element. And find that spinal strength, sit up nice and tall. And either closing your eyes or finding your soft focal point. We start to visualize the ground, the mud, the base of the spine, kind of representing the seed or the root of the flower. Bury deep into that mud. Maybe starting to visualize the petals of the lotus. And as we begin to move up the spine, we'll imagine more and more petals on this lotus flower. So maybe imagine what the color is for you of your lotus flower. And start to allow it to rise up through the water of the second chakra towards your navel center. And now that flower is starting to open. And we see that it is unblemished. It's pure as it comes out of the mud. It rises now toward the solar plexus below your chest, which represents the sun and the fire element, the plant reaching for the sun. More petals on the flower as it rises up to the lotus of your heart. And it opens there into the air element, the lungs and the heart. As it rises up through the chakras, it's also just encouraging us to reach for our own potential. It continues to rise toward the throat chakra into open space, where we can fully express ourselves. More petals rising up to the crown of the head and the brow center. And as it gets to the crown, visualizing this 1,000-petaled lotus blooming, representing this blooming of consciousness, open-mindedness, connecting us to something bigger and beyond ourselves. Really reach the crown of the head up as your roots grow stronger into the ground. It's often depicted as a golden 1,000-petaled lotus. And we'll bring our hands together in front of the heart space and once again open the lotus mudra. And then we'll also reach that up and overhead. And reach it up. Maybe you'll take your gaze up toward it with eyes either open or closed. Just feel this sense of opening to something bigger than ourselves guiding us. Infinite potential. And then start to lower hands down through the center, palms closed. And we'll bow our heads to the heart. And thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.